So I'm also going to turn off show pixels here. So it's smooth throughout and we always have vector going on. So you're probably familiar with this sort of 8 or 9 point grab handles like you would get inside of Photoshop or Illustrator. And you can click those and scale. You'll notice that by default, if you make a square, its properties are trying to stay in proportion by default. So I'll come up here and I'll click this lock to unlock, and you can see a tiny little thing, it unlocks here. And now I can kind of stretch or squash in any way I see fit. But in Adobe, you sort of move your mouse to a corner here, and that will summon a rotate for you. This is a little bit different in Sketch. There's sort of rotate mode as a way to express your rotations. So rotate mode can be activated by going up to the top toolbar and hitting rotate, but that's a little cumbersome. You're probably going to be doing a lot of rotating. Why don't we try it with the keyboard instead? That is Command-Shift-R. And I usually like to do that with my thumb, pinky, and pointer finger on my left hand. So thumb on Command, pinky on Shift, and pointer finger on R. But Shift-Command-R will activate rotation mode. And you can see I can drag this around. It shows me the degree. And this is essentially the same as coming up to the Properties panel and typing in a degree rotation. So if you want exactly 45, you can do that. If you want to do 45.5, it'll just round up. When it comes to degrees of rotation, that's not the case when you're doing size, but it is the case when you're doing rotation. But this is kind of rotate mode, and you know you can't do anything except for rotate in rotate mode. If you look at the cursor, it's always in rotate. It kind of like very follows what's going on, but you can also grab the middle and you'll get the hand and move it. So you can move and rotate and try and get things in position that way. And then when you're done, you can either hit enter or you could hit Shift-Command-R and exit rotate mode. So it's up to you, but rotate mode is kind of a distinct mode inside of Sketch, and it's a little bit different from how you might be used to working. All right, I'm going to clear these things out, and we're going to talk a little bit about flipping. So flipping is something that we do a lot. You might be familiar in Photoshop or Illustrator going to edit, transform, flip, or something like that. Well, let's say we create an object that we want to flip. So I'll create a circle, and I'll delete a point here. Then I'll take these 2 points, and I'll make them disconnected. So come up to our properties. I'll say disconnected up here, and I'll flatten them out by dragging my 2 handles. So now I have this half circle, right? And let's say I want to flip it. Here it is staying in proportion. That's exactly what I want it to do for now. So I'm going to do what I would do in Photoshop or Illustrator. I would select the object, hold down Option, and then I will drag, and that will create a copy. If you want to duplicate, you can select something and hit Command-D to duplicate, and you'll get a copy that way. So it's up to you if you want to smash something on the keyboard, if you want to hold down a button. You can also just straight up copy and paste, and it will paste in place by default. So lots of ways of duplicating, but let's say I want one, holding down Option, getting another. Now I could go into rotate mode and either rotate myself or hold down Shift to get it to snap to exact angles, which is pretty handy. But I want something a little bit easier. So with a copy, I'm going to come up to the Properties panel, and you'll see there are 2 controls for flipping. Yeah, that's right. This is super important. Flipping will be something that you probably use quite a bit in icon design. Maybe you have a different technique, but I use it quite a bit. And I'm just going to hit this one right here. You can see it's kind of showing you a little preview of what you would get. And just like that, I have a nicely flipped circle, and it actually looks a little bit like a pill, doesn't it? And you can see with Smart Guides, they can just snap right together. And I have a full circle. You can see a little bit of a gap, but that's just how Sketch is rendering it. When you zoom up close, there actually is no gap. Just a small little sort of rendering quirk of Sketch.